And you're listening to the late JoJo Bennett, part of the Toronto reggae group The Satellites, a big part of the local music scene here in the 80s and 90s. That horn that Bennett is playing is one of many pieces that is part of an exhibit on now at the Friars Museum. Rhythms and Resistance is the first ever exhibition of its kind. It celebrates a wide range of Caribbean sounds in the city.
Yeah, the exhibit features artifacts of the many artists who produce the calypso, reggae, soul, and hip-hop sounds that make up Toronto's fabric. It's at Friars Museum, just a few steps south of Yonge and Dundas Square. It's on now until the end of this year, and it's free. For more on this, we're joined by the curators of the exhibit, Clive Walker. He's an author, cultural critic and music historian, and music journalist Nicholas Jennings. He's the author of several best-selling books where he explores his passion for Caribbean music, and rapper and actress. Oh, it sounds like we actually don't have her, but I want to go to Clive first. Clive, tell us a little bit about this exhibit. What can people see and hear?
Yeah, well, as you just mentioned, we have that flugelhorn that JoJo Bennett was just playing. He, of course, is the leader of, or the late JoJo Bennett was the leader of the Satellites, the reggae band, the Satellites. We also have 3 items related to Bob Marley's Massey Hall concert here in 1975. One of them is a vintage T-shirt, which you know, is like the one that he's wearing in the photo that you're showing. Mm-hmm. We also have a photo of him in performance, and we have his autograph. You were just showing there the illuminated sign from the Record Nook, which is a record store operated by 2 reggae legends, Jackie Mittoo and Lord Talamo. So we have that too. And also the original poster advertising the first Caribana held here in Toronto in 1967.
And so, Nicholas, take us through the connection in this city, some of the history, the connection between Caribbean music and injustice and resistance in the city of Toronto.
Well, I think really the two are so intrinsically linked. I think music has always been an expression for social justice, and nowhere more so than within Caribbean music. So, you know, from the very first reggae sounds in Toronto, they were associated with social movements, civil rights actions that took place in Toronto around police killings, or around you know, just standing up to the oppression of some of the groups that appeared in Toronto, literally on the streets of Toronto in the early 80s, like the Ku Klux Klan. There were songs that expressed direct opposition to those kinds of issues. Mm-hmm.
I know, Clive, by the 1980s, Toronto had a big reggae music scene. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I think, you know, there's yeah, absolutely, there was a major reggae scene here. You have artists like the ones that I mentioned previously, like Jackie Mittoo. You had the Satellites, Messenger, Truth and Rights, people like Lillian Allen and Nana McLean. A lot of their concerts were at some very you know, significant venues in the city. So in particular, I should name the Bamboo Club on Queen Street, which was really, you know, you could say the headquarters of Canadian reggae music in the city. But you also had Concert Hall, which was on Yonge Street, which is on Yonge Street, I should say. You have the Copa, which was a club on Scollard, which is near Yonge and Bloor. And of course, the Diamond Club, which is now the Phoenix on Sherbourne Street.
So Clive and Nicholas, of course, this is a museum. It's about history, but also the now. So Nicholas, take us through the evolution of the sound throughout, let's say there was the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, let's say to now. What was the influence of some of these artists throughout the history in this city on some artists of today, like Drake and The Weeknd, or even some artists from, you know, the last 15, 20 years like Cardinal Offishall?
Well, sure. And I mean, it's not only with hip hop. I mean, that was certainly a major influence in Toronto with the Caribbean sounds that really helped define the hip hop that came out of Toronto with artists like Michie Mee and the Dream Warriors and Cardinal Official, as you mentioned. And certainly Drake and The Weeknd and artists of today are drawing from those artists and the foundation that they built for hip hop in this city. I should mention that reggae as well crossed over and began influencing rock and roll artists. Bruce Cockburn famously recorded his biggest hit, Wondering Where the Lions Are, with Leroy Sibbles' rhythm section, using a very defined reggae beat in that song. The band Rush was incorporating reggae rhythms as well into their music, and this was a time when reggae was reaching out across all communities through radio stations like the college radio stations, but also a commercial station like CFNY and DJs like Headley Jones, who are actively playing a lot of reggae music by Canadian-based reggae artists as well as those from Jamaica and England.
And Clive, what do you want people to take away from this? They go and take a look and almost, experience a piece of history. What is something maybe you think people will take away?
Well, I think, for some people, I think they will go into the museum and they will reacquaint themselves with some of the artists that they've loved, that they've experienced, and that they've seen in concert over the years. Mm-hmm. And for some of the younger people going into the exhibition, they will have they'll get a sense of the history, they'll get a sense of the legacy of what calypso and reggae has meant for some of the newer contemporary forms of music, like hip hop, the contemporary rock, and so on.
Nicholas, I wanted to ask you, what do you think this exhibit means for the cultural development for Toronto?
Well, I've got to say, Clive and I wouldn't have been able to do this exhibit without the support of the Downtown Young Business Association, which is really the mover and shaker of all things music heritage related in the downtown. And they've been behind not only the Friars Music Museum, which is on the second floor of Shoppers Drug Mart, right at the corner of Yonge and Dundas Square, but they've also sponsored walking tours. They're behind the giant music history murals that can be seen at just south of Yonge and College. And this is really a major step forward for the city of Toronto to have a music museum like this that's going deep into celebrating the heritage of music in Toronto.
And a chance to check it out right until the end of the year. Clive Walker, Nicholas Jennings, thank you both so much for telling us about this really amazing and unique exhibit.
And congrats to you both for creating it.
Congrats.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.